Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching or listening to us from. This is another episode of the Naija FC podcast. It is AFCON time. It's finally upon us. The AFCON begins today, Saturday, with Ivory Coast taking on Guinea-Bissau in the opening match. But we're here to preview Nigeria's first game of the tournament coming up against Equatorial Guinea. As always, I'm your host, Ayo T, and I have with me my reliable co-host.
Smith Layi, thanks for joining.
Yes, Smith Layi. Thank you for joining me once again. We've done a lot of preview. We've talked about this AFCON, and it's finally upon us now. We're one day away from Nigeria's opening game, and the tension is high. But also the spirits are high. A lot of people are
hmm
hopeful. We've heard your predictions. We know that you are hopeful and you are believing in the boys. But yes, let's go into this game against Equatorial Guinea. Um, I'll just give a little bit of background for people that are watching or listening that missed the previous episodes. I mean, Equatorial Guinea are going to their fourth AFCON, um, but it's only the second time that they've qualified as non-host. The other two times they hosted the competition, so they qualified automatically. But interesting facts to know about Equatorial Guinea is that they've reached the knockout round in each of their rather in each of their four AFCON appearances. So they are a team that always finds a way to make it out of the group. Last AFCON, they did impressively, reaching the quarterfinals before losing to the eventual champions. So they have a fairly good AFCON record. The only thing that I would say about them is that they don't really score many goals. So if you're able to defend well, then you are able to potentially do well against Equatorial Guinea. I think they've never scored more than 2 goals in any AFCON match that they've played since they began entering the tournament. So that's an interesting fact to know. If the Super Eagles are able to defend well, maybe they can win the game easily. Another thing about Equatorial Guinea is that only 2 of their 11 AFCON goals so far in all their tournaments have been scored in the first half. So Equatorial Guinea are not a team that ordinarily score goals in the first half of games. And last but not least, in their pre-AFCON friendly in preparation for this tournament, they played a 1-1 draw against Djibouti. So take that for what you want. Does that mean that they're not that strong anymore? Does that mean that, you know, they were testing things out? Who knows? And then when you go to the Nigerian side, Nigeria, 3-time AFCON champions, were the highest scoring team in the qualifying rounds. We scored 22 goals in 6 matches in qualification. Fantastic, fantastic outputs. We also had the highest goal scorer, Victor Osimhen, who scored 10 goals in qualifying rounds, twice as much as any other player across the qualifying series. There were 4 players that scored 5 goals, and Osimhen himself scored 10 goals. And of course, I would also say Nigeria lost in the round of 16 at the last AFCON, losing 1-0 to Tunisia. We all remember that goal. If you're a Nigerian fan, you remember that goal. And then, of course, we were losing finalists the last time that the Africa Cup of Nations was held in Ivory Coast. That was in 1984. So, just a little bit of background of the two national teams. This AFCON, is one that I guess is highly anticipated. A lot of African teams are very strong, at the moment and are developing and getting better. Smith Layi, before we get into the detail, how are you feeling? How is your heart, one day before this game against Equatorial Guinea?
You know, years turn to months, months turn to weeks, weeks turn to days, and now it's a matter of hours before the AFCON starts in Ivory Coast. I'm super excited to actually another AFCON is now. I remember when this AFCON was say it was the 22nd edition. It's now 12 years after that time. Fantastic. I'm really, really excited. I said it before that this is like Christmas after Christmas. You know,
Mm.
when you just had Christmas in December, you're waiting for that Christmas again coming up in January, the AFCON year. So I'm really, really excited and I'm happy that Africa Soccer Fiesta, the biggest in the continent, is around the corner.
And how are you feeling about the Super Eagles? I mean, we've heard you say that we're going to win this tournament. In previous episodes, I've predicted a third place finish, but
Yeah.
we've had quite a number of, should I call them, hiccups. Before the tournament started, Wilfred Ndidi pulled out. with injury. Kelechi
Mm-hmm.
Iheanacho is still not 100% fit. He's still yet to arrive with the team.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Victor Boniface all of a sudden in training camp in Abu Dhabi. Boniface gets injured. He's out of the team, replaced by Terry Murphy. And then only today or yesterday we got confirmation again of Sadiq Umar, a knee injury, and then being replaced by Paul Onwachu. To all these injuries, do they add any bit of doubt or any, hesitancy in your mind?
No, no, with due respect to those that got injured, I wish them quick recovery. It's not easy to actually get injured in football. Injury is the greatest enemy of footballers. But with due respect again to those that got injured, I don't think they're the ones that will take us to the trophy. I don't think so. I think in the players you mentioned, the most important player there was Christian Nacho to winning this AFCON. So I just hope that he can get fit for the Guinea-Bissau game, the last game.
Mm,
I think I
all
don't
right.
have any doubt that these Eagles will fly.
I love your confidence, and I hope that the people that are watching, the Nigerian fans share that confidence as well. Okay, so yes, Smith Layi, very confident. You believe that the Eagles will fly at this AFCON. But let's talk about our opponents for the opening fixture, Equatorial Guinea. What do you think about the Equatorial Guinea side?
No, one thing that you cannot take away from them is that they are like a much improved side, in
Mm,
African continent now, and you cannot play against them. And see, you are playing against underdogs. It
mm,
was evident when they actually reached the semi-finals, or the one they hosted in 2015, and they were also in the quarterfinals of the last edition in Cameroon. Don't forget that they took out Algeria, the defending champion, and also they had a very good game against Ivory Coast. They also beat Sierra Leone, so they came out in the group with like 6 points in the group stage before edging Mali in the what's it called in the second round. So they're not a team that can just lie down for you to roll over them. That is one thing. They stay compact. And if you look at the pattern of our play in previous games in our World Cup qualifier, we struggle to break down teams that form low block.
mm,
So that is why you can predict there's going to be a KG game on Sunday. But for me, I think that they're a very strong opponent. Don't forget that 2013, 2023, they did lose a game. The last game they lost as national team was actually against Tunisia.
mm,
In one of the qualifiers, they lost 4-0. That was around May 2022. So,
mm.
they're very, very solid size. So they are on a beating run. I think that, the confidence, maybe probably, we can propel them to do well in this AFCON.
And I
Yes.
mean, I would agree with you. Equatorial Guinea is definitely not a team that should be taken for granted. Even though in my earlier predictions, I predicted them to finish bottom of this group, or maybe third place if they can add Guinea-Bissau. But that is not to disrespect them. That is not to say that they're not a quality side. Like you said, they knocked out Algeria from the tournament last time. They had a good game against Ivory Coast. They beat Mali on penalties in the round of 16 before losing to the eventual champions in the quarterfinal. So they're not a team to be taken lightly. Um, Looking at this game against the Super Eagles of Nigeria, where do you think the threats can come from if Equatorial Guinea are going to get a result against Nigeria?
If you look at how we can liken the game, they're going to play against Nigeria to the game they played against Algeria in the last
Mm,
AFCON. They soak up the pressure. They're very aggressive. What's it called? When they're marking, they
mm,
soak up the pressure very well, and they actually their wingers and their fullbacks double up on
mm,
opponent's winger, and they choke up the midfield. So they start their defending from the front. So and when they want to counter too, they have pace. So if you remember the condition of the pitch that day against Algeria, it was like a slaughter slab. It was a bumpy pitch, but they did their job against Algeria. So the threat because is going to be on counterattacks, and they have players that can actually threaten Nigeria on counterattacks. So I think it's going to be counter. They're going to form a low block to see maybe they can actually eat Nigeria on
on the
counterattacks.
counter. Mm.
Yes.
And do you believe that there's any chance before we get into the Nigerian side? with all the things that you've said, Nigeria potentially struggling against a team that plays a low block, Equatorial Guinea, trying to hit on the counter attack. Do you think that they can actually catch Nigeria wanting, and they can catch us off guard in this game and achieve a positive result?
No, no, no. Despite their counter attacks, aggressive style of defending, I think that we're going to score the first goal. And
Mm,
when we score the first goal, they will change. They will come out.
mm,
And when they come out, that is when you will see the real Sepasero.
mm,
It's gonna destroy them. You will see football from this man.
I like
Yes.
that you are giving props to Coach Jose Peseiro and you have confidence in him. So let's use that to transition to the Nigerian side. I mean, we're one of the highly rated, highly favored teams, expected to win this AFCON. Victor Osimhen alone is probably worth more than the entire 23 or 25 man Equatorial Guinea squad if you add all their
Mhm.
values together. So where do you think Nigeria can take advantage, to achieve a positive result in this game against Ecuador?
I think that the way we can get result uh, is going to be from the help of our wing backs, because I know that
Mm,
the wingers will be tightly marked. The we can only get results if we can double up on them. Maybe for example now, Lukman is struggling with someone. Maybe Zaid can come and help. They get it, and just
mm,
to make sure that we double up on them too. I think that one will also what will help us. I think late arrival in the box, calculate the arrivals and everything. Also shoot outside the box. Can also actually what help. So I think that if we can break that deadlock between the first 20 minutes, I think that Nigeria will actually will batter them in the first of the opening game.
mm.
So I
And
think the threat is going to form from our wing backs or yeah.
Mm. And I will say, I have to give Equatorial Guinea their credit, but I also am of the opinion that eventually the Super Eagles, should have more quality. This is the kind of tournament where you expect our quality to show. Um, Knowing the way we've been playing recently, we are going to try to take advantage of wing play. I think the fullbacks slash wing backs, whichever way they choose to play, will definitely play a pivotal role in this match. Um, but I think we have to just also watch our centre backs because I would hope that they're never caught lacking in this game. I hope that they are fully concentrated for the full 90 minutes of the match. I can just kind of picture the goal that Mame Balde scored against us,
Hmm.
in the match that we played last year. And I find that if we're not 100% concentrated, if there's any bit of complacency in the side, especially from the centre backs, there's just
Hmm.
that chance of maybe one long ball over the top, one direct through pass, and all of a sudden they find themselves one on one with the goalkeeper, and
Yeah.
then they can potentially get a goal. But I will say if we're fully concentrated, if we're composed, we're doing a good job, everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. I don't see Equatorial Guinea potentially scoring in this game. If at all they do score, maybe they get one goal. Definitely not in the first half. I'll be shocked if they scored us first, or scored us even in the first half. I think that the Super Eagles would also want to go into this tournament, want to go into this game to stamp their ground and to show everybody, fans, media, other national teams to show them that we are here and we mean business. I think this is a game that the Super Eagles need to go and win, and they need to go and win convincingly to make sure that other teams know that we're, the noise that we've been making, other teams know that we're actually here to play serious football. Um, Ultimately, I also think that Victor Osimhen, as always, is going to be a potential, key player for the Super Eagles. But then it also comes down to what kind of supply does he get. Osimhen, we've seen it in club football, we've seen it for Nigeria. He's not necessarily a player that is going to create his own opportunities or is going to create his own chances. He largely needs the help of his teammates to be able to supply him with crosses, supply him with through balls. But we do know that when he does get his chance, he's most likely going to take it. I also think that something that is going to be interesting to see in this game is who plays on the left wing for the Super Eagles. It potentially can be Moses Simon. It potentially can be Ademola Lukman, depending on how the coach chooses to set up. And I'm just like, whoever it is, that person needs to be able to work in tandem with Victor Osimhen. That person needs to be able to have that chemistry, communicate well, and provide him with opportunities. Samuel Chukwueze, I think, is also probably going to start on the right hand side. Chukwueze needs to be on his A game, and needs to be able to slip in those two balls to Victor Osimhen.
Mm-hmm.
Chukwueze, we know he's playing from the right. He doesn't really, really like to cross, especially
Mm-hmm.
because he's left-footed. If he's putting it
Yeah.
on his favorite foot, he's cutting in and he's trying to shoot the ball or something. But I think he needs to have his head up a lot in this game. He needs to have, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the creativity to be able to put some balls into the box that are potentially dangerous. And whoever is playing behind Chukwueze on that right side, be it Olaino or Bright Osai Samuel, I think that they're also going to have a good time in this match. Because with Chukwueze cutting inside a lot, that person is potentially going to have the freedom of the right hand side to be able to run
Mm-hmm.
up and down as much as they want. And then if they get that ball on the right hand side, Chukwueze draws the fullback towards him, they get ball on the right hand side. It's all about the delivery. It's all about the cross
Mm-hmm.
that comes into the box. We cannot afford to be playing poor crosses in this match. I would like to see some quality passing across the center of the park. Whoever the midfield pairing is, Onyeka, Yusuf, Onyedika, whoever it is, it will be Aribo. I want them to also stamp their ground and be composed and command the ball, command the midfield. Don't wait for the defenders to just be playing long ball up to Victor Osimhen and then all of a sudden it becomes aggressive football.
Yeah.
They should actually, demand the ball from the center backs and progress the ball, naturally towards our attack. So I think it's
Yes.
definitely going to be an interesting game. I
Yeah.
think both teams are going to come with a mission, both teams are going to come with a passion. But ultimately, I'm going to favor Nigeria to get a result in this game.
Yeah.
Um, okay, let's go into lineups. You know, who do you think is going to start the game for the Super Eagles of Nigeria? And what formation do you think we're going to line up with?
For me, if we are going to dominate that game and win that game, I think we need a change. The change is from the unrepentant 4-4-4-2 or 4-2-4. Because for the past 1 year now, we have been playing 4-2-4 or 4-4-2. So I think that his last formation in the last game against Guinea might likely be his formation, but with different personnel.
Mm.
I think he's going to actually start with Francis Zoe in goal, and I think it's not going to be something wobbly this time around. I think it's going to be a 3-4-3 formation, and that 3-4-3 formation. The advantage of that is that your wing backs can be supplying the crosses while your wingers go inverted. Like if you look, for example, like you mentioned about Chukwueze, he's an inverted winger. When he cuts in to support the striker, he can leave the space for someone like Osai somewhere attacking that wing. So, and if Osai somewhere moved forward, I think maybe probably she goes there. Waze will be the one to fill in that position in case there's any transition. So I think it's going for a 4-3-3. For a 4-3-4-3, I think in defense line, it's going to be Awaziem, Ajayi, and Basi. In midfield, I think it's going to be Onyeka, Iwobi, and Onyeka, Iwobi, Brazil Samuel, and probably Mushi Simon. I'm not sure, maybe Mushi Simon or Zenit Sanusi. Then up front, I think it's going to be Lukman, Chukwueze, and Osimhen.
Awesome.
Yes.
Interesting. Let me ask you, do you think after he experimented that 3-4-3 formation just one
Mm-hmm.
time in the pre-AFCON friendly against Guinea, and we happened to lose that game 2-0, you
Mm-hmm.
think he is going to go with it in the tournament proper?
I think he went with the formation with the different personnel. That is not actually what his first choice, of players. But I think that I think that if you want to play that formation in the tournament, you should start with against Equatorial Guinea, because I still think that Equatorial Guinea will be like, we can still afford to make some some mistakes there, and the boys will learn with it, but not in the second game against Ivory Coast.
Hmm.
So I still
Okay.
think that he can actually he can try that, because see, I remember when Arsenal was losing and as a winger was playing his stubborn formation, he just changed one game to 3-5-2. From there, he started winning again. So
Hmm.
sometimes this thing involves what macro coaching. So I think just seemed to make that choice. And Online has been playing 3-5-2 for Nottingham Forest for so long, and this guy too, Calvin Bassey once played the Rangers before. So Semi guy plays 3-5-2 for West Bromwich Albion. At least they have an idea of what to expect, the details of what to actually do. So that's why I just think that it might be the game changer
Mm.
for him this AFCON.
Okay.
Yes.
For me, honestly, I'm not fully convinced that he's going to try a different formation in that game. In my opinion, I even think that he was preparing that three at the back for a team like Ivory Coast. A
Mm-hmm.
team that is going to be competitive against us, a team that has a very good chance of beating us. And I think that he was thinking that, he would like to have more security at the back in that kind of match. For this game, I honestly think that coach is going to go to his tried and trusted 4-4-2. I honestly think so. Initially I was a bit doubtful because obviously we've lost two strikers on the eve of this tournament. Kelechi
Mm-hmm.
Iheanacho is not available,
Mm-hmm.
but I still think he's going to be playing a 4-4-2 in the game. I think it's going to be Francis Zoho in goal.
Mm-hmm.
I think Francis Zoho is going to be in goal. I think Batasai Samuel will start at right back, even though I want Olaino. I think it's going to be Batasai Samuel. I
Mm-hmm.
think the centre back pairing is going to be Calvin Bassey and Shemi Ajayi. Even
Mm-hmm.
though I want Kenneth Omoro in the side, I think it's going to be Shemi Ajayi and Calvin Bassey. Left back, I think he's going to go with Bruno Onyemechi. It could very well be Zedu Sanusi. If I were also judging based on, if I were also going to judge based on what's it called, pictures that I saw from training, then it's probably going to be Zedu Sanusi. But I'm going to predict Bruno Oyemachi to start from left back. For a midfield, I think from the left is going to be Moses Simon. I think from
Mm-hmm.
the right is going to be Samuel Chukwueze, and I think in the middle going to be Frank Onyeka and Alex Iwobi. And then
Mm-hmm.
two up front, I think he's going to go with Victor Osimhen, of course, and Ademola Lookman. Like you suggested when we did the previous episode about Ademola Lookman being a supporting striker. I think
Yes.
either by virtue of his hand being forced because of the injuries, or maybe he watched you and he heard what Smith Layi said and he said, okay, I'm going to do this. But I just have a feeling that, especially because there's no Boniface, there's no Murphy in the squad,
Mm-hmm.
there's no Onuachu, there's no Sadiq. I think coach is going to play Ademola Lookman in that supporting strike position.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we're able to achieve a positive result. I've also, just for people that are watching, I also selected some of my predictions based on what I saw from the training pictures. When you see training pictures, some people are wearing beep, some people are training in the normal jersey. You
Mm-hmm.
kind of try to guess which team is which. So that's why I selected it 4-4-2. And ultimately, I think that the squad that he goes with, either it be Smith Layi's prediction or my prediction, should be strong enough to defeat Equatorial Guinea. Do you
Yes.
want us to predict? Should we predict Equatorial Guinea lineup?
Yes. Yes. We can. There's not really much to talk about it. We can. We
Yeah.
can.
Um, okay. I think Equatorial Guinea lineup. When I'm predicting this based on their recent matches that they've played. And then one thing that I saw is that if you look at their recent matches, they play the same they play the same lineup almost every time. They play the same
Mm-hmm.
lineup almost every time. So it's fairly easy to predict if you look at their previous matches. In goal is going to be Jesus Owono.
Mm-hmm.
He's their
Yes.
tried and trusted goalkeeper. He's 22 years old. He's a young player playing for Deportivo Alaves in Spain. I think he's going to be in goal for them. At right back, they are going to have Carlos. Well, I'm predicting that they will play Carlos Acapo. Carlos Acapo is a 30-year-old player playing for San Jose Earthquakes in the MLS. Center back, I believe that they are going to play Saul Koko, and I believe the other player is Esteban Obiang. Saul Koko and Esteban Obiang. And then at left back, they will go with Ndong. They typically play a 4-2-3-1 formation. Um, their defensive lineup sometimes can change, but their midfield and their attack tends to always stay the same. The two
Yes.
center midfielders, Federico Bicoro, playing for Club African um in is it Tunisia? Yes, in Tunisia, and Pablo Ganet playing for CD Alcoyano in Spain.
Yeah.
And then their forward line is going to be Iban Salvador on the right hand side, Josete Miranda on the left hand side, Jose Makin, center attacking midfield, and then their
Yeah.
captain, who I believe is their number one goal threat. If Equatorial Guinea are going to get anything out of this game, Emilion Sue is most likely
Yeah.
going to be involved. I think
Yeah.
he's going to lead their line, their captain, playing
Yeah.
for CF Intercity in Spain.
So,
Plays in
yeah.
like I think Era is the third or fourth division in Spain, but he's
Yeah.
their captain. He's a key player for them. So yes, that is my prediction. Again, like I said, it's based on their recent matches. They tend to always go with the same lineup.
Yeah.
What do you think, Smith Layi? How do you think they'll set up?
Yeah, it's pretty much like actually was said the same. I think Ovono, Owodo is gonna be go because it's their number one first choice. And I remember they used to actually what have he's been like tested and trusted. If you like you actually was said earlier, it's not be considered a lot of goals too. So if you have not been making mistake, so what's the point of actually what changing? So I think there's gonna be a Kakpo, Hanebo, Orozo, and Undong. A lot of people be thinking that Undong is from Nigeria, but we check his DNA to see maybe it's really because one thing I know about Equatorial Guinea is that they are a team that have been different nationalities. Like for example, you mentioned in Suwana, I think was born in Spain. You have different nationalities that play for them. Sometimes they have Brazilians, so that's why people have been suspecting that the Anebo, Anebo is like the crossover name or so that it might probably it be in Nigeria, and also what Undog. So there's going to be, Garnet, Bicaro, and Miranda, and also matching Salvador and Usiwe. Like we mentioned before, Usiwe is the goal threat. He's the goal threat. He appeared first for them. I think that was that was the AFCON in 2015. And I remember that the last game they played against they won the game in the World Cup qualifier or so, because they've won their two World Cup qualifier pretty to this one. So the two games, they are joint top of their World Cup qualifier group. So that
Yeah.
means that based on what as it stands now, they are in good position to go to the World Cup. So after two games, 6 points. So and Usue has been the guy getting the goals from them. He used to play for in the Spanish La Liga before, but age is now 34 years of age now. Age and everything, again, is now dropping. He's now playing in the lower league or actually what in Spanish football. But still, don't forget that what I observe about Super Eagles is this: any player we just gets one small skill small, we feel score Nigeria. That is one thing. I remember, if he scored Nigeria. So I just think that that's actually going to be a lineup. So I don't think there's going to be much changes to what you mentioned. But a player to watch out for, there's no Babua here. I didn't mention Babua. Babua, also a very good player, very
In their
strong.
midfield. Yeah.
Yes, he's in midfield, very strong. But I think that he might probably start, but I just think that I'm going to go for their prediction. Though I didn't mention their first name, but just the name of their jersey.
And I think if there are any changes or any changes being made to their regular lineup, Marvin Aniebo, like you mentioned, could potentially sneak into the starting
Yeah.
11. I
Mm-hmm.
think he is one that can potentially sneak into the starting 11.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm trying to see who else I think could maybe get into their starting 11 if their coach wants to make some changes. Maybe Balboa ahead of Pablo
Mm-hmm.
Garnett, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think nevertheless, they are a team to watch out for. They don't have big names. They don't have names that jump at you that,
Mm-hmm.
stand out on a list, but
Mm-hmm.
they are a very good team. They know how to play together. They play to instruction and they don't score that many, but they know how to get a goal when it matters. And like Smith Layi rightly mentioned, we said earlier in the show, they have a good AFCON record. They've reached the
Yes.
knockout rounds of every tournament that they've played in so far. Just four, but they've reached the knockout round of every one of them. And if care is not taken in a group that's, points are not going to be easy to come by.
Mm-hmm.
If Nigeria mistakenly drop points against Equatorial Guinea, it can be a scramble to the finish. And that's
Yeah.
something that we definitely do not want. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we've spoken a little bit about both sides. We've spoken about, the history of the tournament, the history in the tournament for both national teams. We've spoken about the key players to watch. We've spoken about our lineups. All that is left now, Smith Layi,
Yeah.
is for us to make our score prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Nigeria versus Equatorial Guinea, the opening match for the Super Eagles and AFCON 2023 Group A. Smith Layi, what is your prediction?
3-0, 3-0 Nigeria.
3-0 Nigeria. And who do you think is going to score those 3 goals?
And Lookman 1 goal, Victor 2 goals. Osimhen.
Okay. For me, I will not lie to you. I was going to say 3-0, but because you've gone with it, I want to say something different now. And I'm going
Mhm.
to go with 2-0 to Nigeria. Looking at our last AFCON appearance, even though we've been sketching in difference recently, we showed that in last AFCON that when it comes to tournaments, we can actually defend pretty well and not consider many goals. Again, Equatorial Guinea, I expect them to be on the back foot for most of the game. So I'm not really expecting them to get a goal. If they do get a goal, I think it will be one, maybe a goal from an error or a lucky goal, just against the run of play. So I'm going to go with 2-0, and I'm going to say that Victor Osimhen scores 1 and Alex Iwobi scores another one. 2-0 to the Super Eagles. Victor Osimhen with 1 goal, Alex Iwobi with another goal. Victor Osimhen gets off and running, and hopefully is the start of his fantastic Africa Cup of Nations 2023 tournament. Okay, so anything else to add from your side, Smith, before we round off?
So I just say that for those that are used to looking at bookmakers, Nigeria is the overwhelming favorite to actually want to win, and also what's it called? So they expect Nigeria to actually want to win. I think that we should start on a very good note, and we're gonna start on a very good note.
Well, since you mentioned bookmakers, let me check the odds for people that might want to know. Any bookmaker that is watching this video, listening to us, you can come and sponsor the podcast. You can sponsor our AFCON coverage, and we'll be giving people odds exclusively from your own platform. But just trying to check it very quickly. I'm not going to mention the name of the company I'm checking. But I see that Nigeria, we have 1.44 odds to
Yeah.
win the
Mm-hmm.
game against Equatorial Guinea, and Equatorial Guinea have 9.5 odds. So
Yes.
if Equatorial Guinea managed to win that game, 100 naira will give you, what's that, 950.
950. Yes.
Yes. And if Nigeria win, 100 naira will give you 144 naira.
So
So Smith Layi and I have predicted Nigeria win, so you can take it to the bank.
yes.
Don't place your house rent, but if you have extra
Yeah.
money, and just looking at the odds, I want to look at um, correct score. So if Nigeria should win 2-0, the odds for that are 5.5, based on my prediction. And if Nigeria should win 3-0, like Smith Layi said, the odds are 9 odds. So
Nah.
Smith Layi, it's up to you. The bets that I would recommend, if I honestly recommending a bet for you guys, Nigeria to win both halves. Halftime, full time, Nigeria, 2.25 odds. For me, I think that's my favorite bet from that match. I think that it is something that can happen very easily. We score 1 goal in the first half, we score another goal in the second half. We going with 3 points, or maybe we score 1 goal in the first half, we score 2 goals in the second half, we're going with the 3 points. I think Nigeria halftime, full time, 2.25 odds. I think that's a good market. And if you're a betting person, you can definitely try that out. But please, disclaimer: if you bet and your bets lose, I beg, don't come for me. I'm not refunding anybody's money. I'm not refunding anybody's money. But yes, that is it. That is our match preview for Nigeria versus Equatorial Guinea, the Super Eagles opening game in Group A of the Africa Cup of Nations 2023. This episode of the podcast sponsored by EaglesTrackerShop.com. Make sure you check out the website and get your Naija flavored merchandise, t-shirts, hoodies, phone cases, and a lot more. Make sure you follow both Naija FC Podcast and Eagles Tracker on all social media platforms so that you can get up-to-date, high-quality content coming from Ivory Coast and from the AFCON. And make sure you check out EaglesTracker and Gans Football's daily shows, post-match shows on EaglesTracker. After the game against Equatorial Guinea, I'm going to have two special guests with me. I'm going to have Juwon Oshaniwa, former Super Eagles player, who has represented us at the AFCON, won
One
the
is
AFCON, yes, in 2013. And I'm also going to have Abe George,
oh,
another former Super Eagles player who has represented Nigeria at that level.
AFCON.
So,
He won the Golden Bros.
and won the Golden Bros. So, yes, they're going to be my two guests after the game against Equatorial Guinea. And we'll have more special guests against Ivory Coast and against Guinea-Bissau. So don't stop following. Tell your friends to watch, tell your friends to tune in, and we wish the Super Eagles all the best. Go for gold, and hopefully the Super Eagles can soar and fly high in Ivory Coast. Okay, so like final word from you before we go.
I really appreciate those that have been watching, this have been sharing the video. I can see a lot of people posting, say, oh, they put it in their groups and everything. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you. Don't forget to comment. It's because of you. That's why we are here. So,
Yeah.
and we'll be serving you back to back this AFCON. Don't worry. You go enjoy the AFCON.
Tell
Thank
them
you.
what's coming up on Gant Football before we go now.
Okay, yeah. Let's go be AFCON Daily Show too. That football. So just join and come and win money too. We'll
Smith
give you
Layi
what
is
you want.
giving away lots of money, so make sure you follow Gant Football.
Uh,
You check
yeah.
that out. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Bye bye.
All right. Thank you. Yeah.